Under Cantabrians Unite for Democracy. We've got one more person who's going to just say a few words to us before Peter comes on and readdresses us. Afternoon. I'll be brief, unaccustomed to public speaking as I am. My name is Kelvin. I'm a professional firefighter here in Christchurch. On February 22nd, not to mention September the 4th, I, along with many of my workmates, both paid and volunteer, responded from off-duty to the Christchurch CBD to help rescue the many victims of the Christchurch earthquake. Myself and my colleagues risked our lives in the PGC, CTV and the press buildings, helping others amid numerous aftershocks, any one of which could have caused a further building collapse, which could have killed us as well. I find the attitude of Tony Marryatt and Bob Parker with regards to justifying this obscene pay rise by saying he's never worked harder in his life beneath contempt. While Tony Marryatt was on the Gold Coast, I was inside the PGC building assisting one of my colleagues perform a double amputation on a man's legs with a hacksaw and a pocket knife. How can it be that this man be given a pay rise in excess of what I make in a year at ratepayers' expense, no less? Whilst the firefighters who risk their lives can't even get a pay rise in line with the CPI, and our contract expired more than a year ago. This fiasco is disgraceful. Mayor Bob Parker, Tony Marryatt and every single member of the Christchurch City Council who voted in line with this pay rise owe the ratepayers of the city their immediate resignation. Thank you. That's the kind of guy I want to honour. That's the kind of guy who's put himself on the line for the city. That's the kind of guy who would not sit on a beach and watch his city fight against the struggles of an earthquake. Peter Lynch, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, we're coming to the point where we're going to conclude the protest, but before we do, there's two serious questions I want to ask Central Government and the Right Honourable John Key. And when I ask you the questions, I want your response. And they are, do you want our Chief Executive, Tony Marryatt, replaced? Yeah! And the second question, thank you. And the second question, which is just as important, do you, the Christchurch residents, ratepayers and citizens of Christchurch, want early new general elections before that? Mr. Key, the Christchurch people have spoken, and we now expect you to listen to our demands, else there will be further protests, believe you me. Thank you very much.
We have got a lot to be grateful for Peter. He has put a huge amount of work into this, a huge amount of work into the media and so forth, so we're so grateful for him. We are calling for autumn elections for this city. And what we've done, Peter and I, we've written a letter to Nick Smith, also John Key. We're going to read that letter out, And as I read it out, Peter's going to march this letter to the civic officers. We're going to wait and see what the government says to and responds to this letter. I know what's going to happen and you know what's going to happen. But what we've done is we've gathered in thousands to ask the government to listen. Bob Parker is spitting in your face. You cannot leave a council in absolute distraught circumstances and get on a 747 and head out of the city. What is going on? Bob Parker is laughing in your face, John Key. You must listen to what we are saying. The city is not being rebuilt. Things are not happening from our leadership. Tony Marryatt is not the man to lead this crisis. He never was. The city council is... The city council is as dysfunctional before the earthquake as it is now. That is the issue here. And that's what we've found out. The mayor is not up to the job. Tony Marryatt is a 30-year bureaucrat who does not know how to handle this crisis. That is what is going on here more than anything else. The pay rise is a disgrace, but it is the tip of the iceberg on a hugely dysfunctional council. We need to move on for the sake of the city. Otherwise, we're going to be waiting another 18 months and nothing will happen and people will be flocking out of the city. The council needs to do something. Kerry Marshall is sitting there having coffees. He's not there for any apparent purpose. It's just a disgrace. They are mocking us with this man. He is a nice man, but they are mocking us. It's not even a review. It's an observer. That means someone sitting in a meeting having a coffee. That's not what this is about. We need real leadership and real change. So what we're doing with this letter, is we're calling for fresh midterm elections. We're calling for the leadership of the city to help the city move forward in its rebuild. And we're calling for greater transparency and integrity right across the board for our elected members and our mayor until we have these midterm elections. We are so grateful for your coming. We're really grateful for the police to be here. We give the police a big hand. We give St. John's Ambulance who are here a big hand. And we give each other a big hand as Cantabrians unite for democracy. If we call for you to come again in the press, please come in your thousands, because you will know and you will see that the government is not taking you seriously. Now we need to be taken seriously. They cannot shut us down like Jerry Brownlee has shut us down. They cannot shut us down like John Key is ignoring the issue. They need to listen. If you do not hear them making a reasonable go at listening to us, we will call for another protest. And from that protest, we will move into further action. There'll be protests, there'll be revolts. Right across the board, we will call our government to action and Nick Smith to action. Now listen to this letter. As I read this letter out and Peter goes and takes the letter to the City Council, we are going to slowly disperse at the end of the letter. I'm so grateful that you came, that you stood up for democracy and that you're here listening to the heartbeat of our city. Peter. this is what the letter says. To the Honourable... Hey, I only stopped there because there was a full stop. To the Honourable Dr. Nick Smith, Minister of Local Government, Parliament Buildings, PO Box 18041, if you need the address. We, the citizens of Christchurch, unite in protest to challenge our dysfunctional Christchurch City Council's leadership. Our Mayor Bob Parker and Chief Executive Tony Marryatt show no desire to operate with transparency and with proper processes in place. They make unilateral governance decisions without elected councillors' knowledge. This lack of true leadership and desire to unite councillors is seriously undermining Christchurch moving forward. The decision to award the Chief Executive a huge pay increase without proper process, and in these times of disaster and struggle for ratepayers, and at a time when the council is in budget deficit, reveals to the majority of our city how out of touch our mayor and many on our council are with its citizens. The remuneration decision is but one of many poor decisions in recent times. There have been many other poor decisions in past times. The record clearly reveals the leadership of our council do not have the skills to lead us forward. It's getting windy. The southerly's coming. Business leaders, lawyers and many in the development industry have been crying out against the council's inadequacies in enabling the rebuild to begin. The bureaucratic red tape of council hinders people moving into new homes. Even in these desperate times, the council has only 3 people who can sign off a building consent, and one is on holiday. I've got to add that. Getting really windy. It's coming, it's coming. In comparison, Selwyn and Waimakariri District Councils are building 5 and 6 times more houses per capita than our council. This is a telling statistic on the level of our functionality. No more than ever, we need highly professional, switched-on leadership. We need a mayor, CEO and councillors with appropriate skills, ability and desire to work together as a united council. We therefore, and that's from us, call on the government for fresh midterm elections to enable new leadership to govern our city so we can move into the rebuild phase of recovery. We call on the government to impress on our council to develop a process that will address the issues around the council holding up the rebuild of Christchurch. This will include how and when to fast-track land zoning changes, subdivisions and consents in an open and transparent way, while ensuring that the suitability of the land and the safety of buildings is assured. We call on the mayor and councillors to commit to transparency and accountability to the people they were elected to serve in the lead up to new elections. We write this from citizens who have united in protest across the city on this day, the 1st of February 2012. Thank you so much for coming, everybody. Read the papers. Have the guts to come out again. Make sure that you do not let the fire in your belly dwindle. Tell people about what is really going on. You have learned a lot about our city today and just how dysfunctional it is. We call